My name is Phil DeLong, and I serve as Director of Student Support at Conserve School, and I want to spend a little bit of time sharing with you some of the ways that we support the health and wellness of students at Conserve School. And I begin with this quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, who reminds us that the first wealth is health. And I share this because it's a good underpinning of what we do at Conserve School. It reminds us that for us to be our best, to be as healthy and well as we can, is important because it affects everything else we do. So you're probably wondering, as you think about attending Conserve School or sending your child to Conserve School, well, how do you support the health of our young people? And in particular, what if they get sick or injured? So I'm going to start there because that's often the first question I get. And for our health services, first of all, we have a health care coordinator. And that person for us coordinates the implementation and development of our healthcare policies and procedures. And they work with a consulting physician who helps make sure that those policies and procedures are ones that are sound and are most appropriate for the audience that we work with. Currently, our healthcare coordinator is EMT trained, and among their other responsibilities, they manage our health center and they train all the other Conserve School staff who participate in supporting the health and wellness of our students. A couple times a week, we have a nurse from a local clinic who comes to Conserve School so that they can meet with students who maybe have particular health needs and to consult with our healthcare coordinator. And then our teaching and residential life staff are certified in wilderness first aid or higher, for instance, wilderness first responder. And that's important to us because it allows them to provide assessment and care for students both here on campus and when we're in the backcountry with the students. But how do students access care when they're here? That's another question I know that we often get. So first of all, students can report to our health center, which is located in our main academic building, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. on school days. And the healthcare coordinator generally is the first person who will meet with a student and assess them and provide care. The health center includes bedrooms for students who need to rest during the school day, if that's necessary, which does happen from time to time. And then on weekends and after 5 p.m. on school days, often the healthcare coordinator's not on duty. So initial assessment and care is provided by the staff member on duty in the house. So they'll go ahead and make that assessment using the protocols provided by our healthcare coordinator and approved by the consulting physician, provide care up to the level of their competence. And then if they're not entirely sure what's appropriate, or if they feel that whatever health concern has been raised needs further consultation or treatment, they'll contact the administrator on call who's available 24/7. And then that administrator on call will either help them decide how to treat it or refer the care to a clinic outside of Conserve School. Speaking of which, despite our very rural location, we are fortunate to have medical providers in the area, including Aspirus Land O'Lakes Clinic, which is about 15 minutes from campus. And they are very willing to see our students, even on short notice. We also have walk-in clinics in Rhinelander, about an hour away, and another one in Minocqua, which is also an hour away. And then Ascension Eagle River Hospital, with an emergency room, is about 30 minutes from us. So we can access that care 24/7. Now, another question we often get is, what about medications? My child's going to bring medication with them. Well, in keeping with state law, prescription medications are turned into the health center staff on move-in day. There are exceptions to this. Students may keep with them at all times rescue inhalers, creams, and epinephrine, but otherwise all medication does need to be turned into health center staff. Those medications are dispensed by staff either from the health center during the school day or in the residents' houses on evenings and weekends by the staff member on duty. Over-the-counter medication is dispensed by staff either from the health center again or in the residents' houses and may not be kept in student rooms per state law. Now, physical health, though, is only half the story. As Kate Middleton, the Duchess of Cambridge, reminds us, a child's mental health is just as important as their physical health and deserves the same quality of support. We're fortunate at Conserve School to be able to take advantage of the services of an adjunct school social worker. Her name is Jamie, and she offers us mental health and wellness workshops one afternoon each week and is available for individual student sessions once every week or two. And she also then consults with our staff to make sure that we're providing the best care we can, emotional health care, to our students, helps us review and revise any policies or procedures we have that impact the mental and emotional health of our students. To this point, I've been addressing our response to student health concerns, but I think it's important to acknowledge that really we put as much or more emphasis on helping students to be proactive about maintaining wellness. John Muir reminds us that everybody needs beauty as well as bread, places to play in and pray in, where nature may heal and give strength to body and soul. And I use this quote because it reminds us that part of being well means getting outside, accessing clean, fresh air, playing outside, being with others. That helps nourish us. We have that in abundance here. And as a matter of fact, it's something we actually schedule into the students' days. Another part of wellness, as Hippocrates reminds us, is that our food should be our medicine and our medicine should be our food. We're fortunate at Conserve School to have a food service that provides our students and us as staff, for that matter, with good, nutritious, delicious food. That probably sounds like hyperbole, but I can tell you that it's not. Our students who have been here will tell you that. And the choices that we make in our dining room are ones that are made to help our students eat well enough to participate in this very active lifestyle they pursue here. A Portuguese proverb reminds us that early sleep and early wake up gives health and makes you grow. That one, I have to say, is a bit of a challenge here. So for you teenagers and those of you who are parents of these teenagers, you know how challenging that one can be. It's a challenge for us here too, but we certainly do make efforts to create the conditions under which students can get enough sleep. All right, so there's all of that, but what about the role of our staff in actively supporting students in their holistic wellness? I'm going to start with a structure we have that is designed just for that. It's called advisory. So each student at Conserve School is assigned a staff advisor, and that advisor monitors and supports their growth and well-being. And when I say their well-being, I mean, again, holistic. So academic, mental, emotional, social, physical. Advisors meet with each advisee once every week or two and are available to meet at other times as needed. Each advisor works with only 2 to 4 advisees, which means that they actually have ample time to be really attentive to the needs of their advisees. And then additional support for students and staff is provided by the Director of Student Support, that'd be me, as well as the school social worker. The idea here is that there is an adult on campus who takes the big view of how every student is doing. So for me as an advisor, I have my 4 advisees. I have the time to really pay special attention to how they're doing. Again, their holistic wellness. That's the idea behind advisory. Academics, obviously, is an important part of a student's experience here. So how do we support that outside of what might be obvious in our classes? Well, first of all, we are fortunate to have really great staff-to-student ratio. So we have 60 students and 20 instructors. Our staff live right here on campus, so they're accessible, and they're also proactive. They're able to differentiate instruction. When we see a student in a class who maybe is struggling with something that their peers aren't, we're able to address that individually with that student to allow them to succeed where they're at. Also, we put into place something we call study hours. So 5 nights a week, for 2 hours at a time, students are expected to be either in their residence house or over here in the main academic building working on their studies. And we do this for a very good reason. Conserve School among all the great things that we have going on here, is filled with distractions, great distractions. So one of them is the outdoors. Another one are the really good friends that students make here. Those are great things, both important parts of the experience. But it can make it difficult for students to manage time because really, oftentimes what they want to do is to be outside or to be hanging out with their friends who live right next door to them in the room next door. So that's why we set aside this time 5 nights a week where nothing else can be going on so that students can actually attend to their studies. And then we have these teachers available to help students with their studies as well. So that's an important piece of the support network we have here. Some students come to us who have need for learning accommodations. And while it's important to note that Conserve School is not designed specifically for students with learning difficulties or disabilities because we don't have the expert trained staff in those areas, we have found that we can accommodate students who compensate well for some learning difficulties. So for instance, students with ADD or ADHD, dyslexia, dysgraphia, many of those students have proven successful at Conserve School and we're able to accommodate them. So if you're a student or the parent of a student who knows that you succeed when you have some learning accommodation, I encourage you to go to our website, to our student support page, and click on the link to learning accommodations to learn more about what we're able to do to support students in need of accommodation. And if you have questions, please contact us. And then one final thing I want to address in our support system is something we call our student life curriculum. So we have talked a long time here at Conserve School about the benefit of intentional communities. So community on purpose, not just community on accident. You give communities enough time, they will, just by their nature, grow and develop. But it's our belief that if you're intentional about that work, you can accelerate that development of the community and make it a healthier, more nurturing environment. One of the ways we do that is through this student life curriculum. So twice weekly during the school day, we gather the students in smaller or larger groups to be intentional about learning skills, attitudes that one needs to be successful in community. So for 50 minutes on Tuesday and 60 minutes on Wednesday, we have this time with students. What do we do during that time? Well, primarily explore and practice these skills for living in community. Examples would be how to have respectful and productive conversation. That's an important skill to learn, one that's difficult to learn. If you look around in the wider culture today, you see both how difficult that is, how poorly we're doing actually as a culture, yet how important it is. Another topic is establishing community norms. Early on, we spend time with students thinking about, talking about what are the norms for this community? What are the things that are acceptable, healthy, to be commended and to be pursued? And what are the things we want to avoid in order for community to be healthy? We explore issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We consider how to manage conflict because those obviously will come up where people living together, often closely, conflicts happen. We want to help students figure out how to productively manage that. We explore healthy relationships, including appropriate touch, and we spend time helping students think about how a group develops, what stages it goes through, so they can identify what's happening to their community and then respond in an appropriate way. So those are just some of the examples of what we do in this student life curriculum. So I hope that this was helpful for you today to give you some sense for how we support the health and wellness of students at Conserve School. And I encourage you again, if you do have any questions, please don't ever hesitate to email us or call us at Conserve School.